So what motivates a D would be the the challenge, of course, new challenges, setting and achieving goals, and seeing tangible results. They want to work with someone and they want to be able to produce as much as possible. Obviously, a lot of us want longevity in our business and we want it to last a long time, but usually people with a higher D personality look for short-term results. They want to see someone that can have that return very quickly. They don't want to feel driven out and hung out to dry and 3 months go by and they haven't found a house yet. At that point, they've completely lost interest in you. They're going to find someone else that seems like they can afford them a more short-term reward than what you've been able to present so far. Freedom from routine and mundane tasks is essential. They don't want to be given a linear path. They want to be able to branch out a little bit and figure things out for themselves because generally speaking, they do like to take control. They tend to have good solutions. Oftentimes, they're not the best solutions, but it's worth letting them at least try what they want to, because if you don't, then like Kyle said, you're taking the control from them and that completely turns them off. Whenever I'm working with a D, I'll send them 3 lenders and I'll say, hey, here's the company they work for, here's their number, here's their calendar. Look into them, pick whatever one you want to work with, and just let me know which one you choose. That way, they're able to properly assess who these people are at their own convenience. And when they reach the decision, they've reached the decision. And I provided that insight, which makes me the expert, but have still allowed them to reach their own conclusion. Verbal recognition from others, as well as rewards and the power and authority to take risks and make decisions. Sometimes you got to be a little bit loose with them. They don't always want you to be super hands-on. They don't want you to text them and call them every day. Oh, hey, how's your wife? They're going to hang up that phone so quick. Like they don't care at all. When you get to a certain point, yes, they're going to be more open to you as a person and learning about you and you learning about them. But within those first couple interactions, you really got to keep it about business. It's almost like dealing with a D is dealing with emails. Email is the most professional form of communication out there. Whenever someone sends an email, it's never, hey, I had a great summer. How was yours? It's, okay, so we have the appointment scheduled for this time for this address. It's very straightforward, just like them. Since repetition is frustrating for the D, changing environments between work and play is motivating. Being a D myself, I can tell you that that's 100% true. I do not like to stick to a structure very much, aside from work. When it comes to the friend groups that I have, I tend to gravitate towards different people from different walks of life because I want to experience different things. I want the freedom to kind of build my own story in a sense, which in business is a good motivation for them. You are allowing them the freedom to really drive themselves towards that route of success. But along the way, you're kind of paving the path with the insight and information that they need in order to actually make the right decision.
Keep on this one, Brian. Can you go back really quick? So I want to talk a little more too about this, right? So much of our own qualifying when we're working with clients is how are people motivated? What's motivating them? How do we make them take the next step, right? We do a ton of work on digging for motivation, figuring out what motivates people. So if we can zoom out, obviously you're going to have external motivation, like we're getting a new job or we're retiring or, this and that cause people to sell or buy a house. But if we know intrinsically what motivates Ds, we can use that in our framing and in our questionings to ask better questions to get them to talk more than they would, just naturally being a D. So if we know that most of the time high Ds love having a new challenge, they are very goal oriented, they want results, they enjoy verbal recognition and authority. How do you think that you can frame that in your conversations with them to get more out of the communication? That these are things that are motivating them naturally. What might be some good questions to ask them when you're on the phone with them to prompt that better conversation?
Make sure when you talk, you speak loud. Please and thank you.
Maybe when you're asking questions, truly be intentional. Don't ask fluff or don't ask for so much information. Be hey, Mr. Byers, or what is it exactly that you're looking for right now? And when they say exactly what it is, then you come back with exactly those answers, not about you can give extra information, but again, if you kind of give them too much, they'll set it aside. You want to be very direct.
Love that. Directive questioning. Ask them exactly what they want and take it and move on. I think that's perfect.
I'd say slow down a ton. If you're moving too fast and you're filled with uhs and ums, which shows a huge lack of confidence, rapport is going to be broken so fast. Just take your time with them, even though they might be moving fast and speaking fast. Slow down so that you give off that energy of confidence and you're not tripping over yourself.
Get them talking. You want to ask them about what their goals are with the purchase and what they want to achieve in the future as well. Get them going.
Right. It's going to be different than an I, right? Like, so what is using these words within your questioning? What are your goals with this purchase? Tell me exactly what results you'd like to see from me as your agent, right? Like, we're using the terminology, the verbiage, we're using directive language. Hey, I'm sure you're really busy. I want to make sure that I schedule these showings at a time that's going to be back to back and works for you, right? We know that they want freedom from routine. We know that it's good to change environments, right? So maybe some of our meetings we have at the office, maybe you meet them for coffee somewhere else, right? It's not the same every time. So thinking about how you can use some of these actual words as well as, what they actually like within your own meetings and encounters with them will also help you have a better experience. All right. So we want to talk about a little more about how to work with a D. So the most important things are efficiency and confidence, right? So obviously we want to be direct, we want to be brief, we want to be to the point, and we want to talk about tangible facts. What instead of how? So not how we're going to get your home sold. What are we doing to sell your home? Like, what are those steps? We're not going to talk about how that works. They don't care how we send out the viral marketing or how that happens. They just want to know that it's being done and what it is. So when you're focusing on that slide, you're not going to go in as depth into that how. You're just talking about, hey, these are the steps. This is the results that they produce. They don't care what's happening on the back end. They just want to see the results. Making suggestions for how to achieve the goal instead of talking about why it won't work. So negativity is also something that can breed a perception of lack of confidence, right? If we're talking about, well, the market's just so tough right now for buyers, and no, it's not for a D. Like, they get what they want. They're goal oriented. So we don't want to use any language that will show them that we're not confident that their goal can be reached. So being very conscious that when you're speaking with them, hey, this is what will work, instead, oh, well, if you don't do this, we just won't get the house. You want to keep your language positive and goal oriented. And as far as confidence, we don't want to emphasize problems, negative points, or small details. They're big picture thinkers, right? So if there is a problem, let them know. To Danny's point, you want to be direct with them and open and honest, but rather than just talking about a problem, come with a solution. Having worked with Kyle, one of our rules is if we have a problem, we literally come with that problem presented with a solution. That's one of the rules that we have in our own meetings, and it's great for Ds, it's great for everyone. But the whole point is that they want to see results. They want to see things that happen. So if there is a problem, hey, this house, I'm sorry, this one that you really wanted to see this weekend, it's actually already accepted an offer, but I found this other one that's similar, right? Like, we want to always accompany those negative announcements with them with something positive and something that's moving the ball forward. That's really important. And then same thing, Lukas kind of touched on this as well, right? We want to avoid repeating ourselves or rambling, slow down to make sure that what you're saying, you can just say it once, and that will help the conversation go smoother. Generalizations or statements without support is going to also be a turnoff to them, right? Like, oh, well, in this market, everyone's getting beat out, or we want to just be very clear and concise with what we're saying. So kind of specifically, I know I touched on this a bit, but my goal for this is to make this tangible for you guys, right? So like, we know these ideas about who Ds are and what makes them work, what they like and they don't, but how do we apply this in our own business? So my question to you guys is, what parts of the listing and buyer's presentation would you adapt, and how would you adapt those parts to better cater to a D? Like, if there's certain slides that you can think of, the way that you present yourself.
The ones about our successes, how many houses we've sold. They're going to respect that. That's the thing.
Track record. What else?
We'll probably minimize this quite a bit. Just really stick with what they want to hear.
Louder.
I would just minimize it as much as possible and go right to the meat and potatoes, whatever that is for them, and talk about that, and really like preface the whole conversation with making sure that I know what I'm speaking to, so that I'm not wasting their time going over stuff they're not interested in.
100%. You're definitely not going through every single slide with a D. If you do, it's not going well.
We focus on the 24-hour system because it says a lot of about efficiency, right, and productivity. And then the other slide that I would focus on the VIP is negotiation part. You know, you want to use words like, I'm gonna fight for you, I'm gonna win this deal, you know, stuff like that. So.
Love it. Super actionable. What else?
Kind of got me thinking team slide and just how we all work together. There's systems for everything. You know, our capabilities as a team far exceed other individual agents, and let them know there's a whole system and series of processes back behind all this. And think about it.
I love that. And that's a big one too, right? Because it ties back in leveraging their time for results. If we have a whole team of people, we have listing coordinators, we have photographers, we have transaction, like we have all these people working in the background, you as the agent negotiating on their behalf, they're going to get what they want more efficiently and more quickly, which is definitely a pro in their mind, which is great. Anything else?
With a D, you may not even want to go into the listing presentation because you might end up dragging it out too long. So keep that in mind also.
What you would say that. I know I've been on a couple listing appointments with both Kyle and Mike, and depending on the personality type, like I went on one with Kyle where the guy was somewhat of a D, and Kyle didn't even open his computer. Like it was just like, hey, this is what we're doing. We're going to build a little rapport, walk through the house. This is the next step. And the guy was like, great. Okay, cool. So like Jeremy said, you may not even need it for some of those clients, depending on how well you have rapport with them or how much you kind of prep them ahead of time. It might just turn them off entirely. So not everything has to be the same each time. It's more about the person than feeling fixated on, oh, this is the presentation and I have to get through it. Whatever builds rapport and builds confidence, that's how you're going to win ultimately. So I think that's a great suggestion.
Just a quick observation, every single person who's spoken up and commented are off the charts Ds. I want to make sure you guys are clear on this. If you're wondering who's the D, every single person who's chimed in is an ultra high D. This is a normal thing, but it's a good thing because Ds will actually tell you what's on their mind, where some of the other personalities, especially like a high S, they're like scared to tell you how they feel. So one thing you'll come to appreciate about a high D, they don't hold back any punches. They're going to tell you how they feel. They're going to be very direct with it and somewhat unapologetic in their approach.
They will not ghost you.
Yeah.
These will not be your ghosting clients. They'll tell you that they don't like you.
We went another direction.
I'll tell
Sorry.
you why I'm not working.
Yeah.
This is why I
Just by the way you suck.
Awesome. Brian, you can move on.